Today, we're going to dive into something that affects each and every dollar in your pocket. Economics made simple. What is inflation? And folks, stay tuned because you're going to love how this goes down. So what is it? Inflation is when prices of things rise over time. For example, in 1980, you could buy a movie ticket for less than $3, while these days, it'll cost you approximately $9 on average. Although it can feel bad when things become more expensive, it's pretty normal, even healthy, for an economy to experience a steady amount of low inflation. So let me just paint another picture. We're sitting here today. We got $10,000 in cash. It's all stacked up. We go into the time machine, leave for what would be 3 minutes for us, but come back at 7 years later. It'll look like 10,000, but feel like 7,000 because of inflation. So why it happens, there's many different factors that contribute to inflation. Let's tackle three. Economic growth. What does that mean? Okay, let's say if a company is doing good, they're making profits. They're going to increase the income for their employees. The employees are going to feel real good about themselves, spend more money, and as a result, prices tend to go higher. Secondly is energy prices. When the energy goes up or the cost of energy goes up, well, guess what? The cost of making the goods, shipping the goods, and keeping the lights on tends to go up. Okay, so now this stuff is going to start costing more, and that means the services are going to rise as well, the price of services. Last but not least, government policy, and they did it in 2008 when we were like a day away from having no money left in the ATM machine. If the government cuts taxes, prints money, lowers interest rates, both economic growth and inflation typically get a boost. So let me give you an example. Let's just use a typical person with a salary job, a 30-day window. When rates are low, when the salary's up, they tend to have more money at the end of the month, right? However, if rates start to go higher, so higher interest rate on your credit card debt, if gas prices go higher, if food prices go higher, and we're seeing this in 2022-23 versus 20 and 21, people begin to run out of money by the 20th of every month, maybe even the 25th and maybe even the 15th. This is important for you to understand as you plan out your economic redemption strategy and put yourself in a position for financial security. Stay tuned, folks. The effects. Inflation can impact your day-to-day life in both good and bad ways. Here's the good, and I'm going to speak in general terms. Encourages the consumer spending, which basically is good for the economy overall. Wages tend to go up. Some investments, like your home, usually go up in price along with inflation. Once again, general terms. The bad. Your money buys less than it did before, right? Because if interest rates are higher than they were, then all of a sudden your credit card interest rate would be 28% versus 21%. And last but not least, some investments like CDs or cash are below what inflation rate is. So that means that money is actually stagnant, moving backwards. Now, think of it this way, though, and stay for the end because I'll be able to show you how to work through this. If you know how to high step through economic winter, we could turn the bad into the good plus, meaning you're going to be in a position to take advantage of a lot of things on discount. Stay tuned. The effects. Very high inflation can cause major problems throughout the economy. Some inflation helps grease the wheels of the economy, of course. A little inflation is better than risking deflation, and that's when prices fall, because deflation can pull an economy into a full-blown depression. I want you to think of Hong Kong in 1997, right after the Asian contagion. They went into a deflationary environment from 1997 to about 2004. And then Ireland in 2009, first time in 40 years, they went to a deflationary environment. So this does happen, and it has a very bad effect on countries' economies when it does. Last but not least, government policy influences inflation. Many governments can aim for about 2% annually. It's a little higher than that right now here in the United States. That's considered to be the sweet spot for slow but steady positive inflation. But I want you to think about something, folks. Inflation is different per person, per state. Let me give you an example. If you live in New Jersey and you want to buy gas right now, it's about $3.23. That's today. Same thing, if I'm in California and I want to buy gas, it's about $5.05. That is almost a 70% difference in the price of gas. Think about that every day, all day, twice on Sunday. Those are two separate inflation rates per state, per person. So far, folks, we talked about what is inflation, the effects of it, and why it happens. Now, let's get into how do I protect myself against it. It's important to protect your money against inflation. If you do nothing at all with your money in 5 years, your purchasing power will have decreased by the amount that the inflation has increased. Remember I talked about going on a spaceship and you have $10,000 and then 5 years later you come back and it looks like 10 but it feels like 7? That's what inflation is. It erodes at the buying power of the dollar bill. So a lot of times folks will get a 30-year mortgage versus a 15-year mortgage. Now remember, the mortgage company wants you to do 15 years so you pay the house off faster so they get more now dollars. But you, the consumer, should do a 30-year mortgage, not generally, but think about the fact that if you go longer with your money when it comes to a 30-year mortgage, you're keeping more now dollars in your pocket versus giving it to the bank. It's just something to think about overall, not singular, when it comes to the planning process and how to protect yourself against inflation. So, folks, remember, if you're going to sit in cash, if you're going to keep money in fixed CDs, there's a risk of the buying power getting lost there significantly, and the best way to grow your money is to invest it or store it in rates of growth that has a higher rate of inflation. Of course, there's no guarantee here, but here are some options to include and think about. Because remember, Ray Dalio said it best. You should have 18 different asset classes. I'm not even talking about where to put your money. What I'm talking about educationally is to understand it's important to diversify within and amongst different asset classes. Here's 4. We'll talk about the S&P 500. We've heard time and time again about the greatest chart in history. In effect, what it tells you from 1980 to 2022, the S&P 500, if you took no money out and if you reinvested the dividends, averages about 12% a year. Average, not actual. Now, remember, each year, there's also an on average of 14% decline. So you got to be right from within and understand that, hey, behavioral finance is part of that as well, and understand staying on a path of economic freedom is the key. The second thing would be investment property. Why is investment property so special for the folks that understand how to do it for the long term? Because nothing here is an overnight success. Well, if I was to go buy an investment piece of real estate, my goal is to get 4 rates of return. One would be cash flow. The other would be appreciation. The other would be depreciation and segregated depreciation, so I get more write-offs and keep more money in my pocket where it belongs. And then last but not least, you get a mortgage interest write-off. What I love is to tie whole life insurance, overfunded whole life insurance with mutual life insurance companies into that equation as a centerpiece on some level, because now I'm going to bring in protection from death, disability, lawsuit, inflation, and interest rates, and it ties everything together. So for us, when you diversify within and amongst asset classes and have the glue in there that can protect you from the things you can't control, you're able to high step through economic winter because you'll have a level of liquidity that you normally wouldn't have had you not done this. So folks, sometimes when I get into diversification, it sounds a little bit complicated, and I want to make sure that you understand we're going to simplify it all through the Epic Wealth Builder. Go ahead and click the link below. One of the team members here at Epic will take you through our free gift, which is going to show you how to turn your assets into a high-yield return on your investment, and that is by creating your own personal financial website, which connects all your financial institutions on one landing page so you could see your world real time at the click of a button, whether it's on a cell phone, a desktop, or a laptop. And basically what the Epic Wealth Builder does for you is it creates financial organization, the ability to identify opportunities. Last but certainly not least, you could also stress test certain decisions you may want to make on this platform. It's for free and it's for you. Don't forget to subscribe, link, and share. And at the end of the day, one of the members here at Epic is here to answer any of your questions. There is no obligation. There's just education.